Adam. Easy does it.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the zoo. The minion with me this evening is Adam.
Hello.
Traveling exhibit, GabbyGeeWhiz.
Greetings, everybody.
And as it is once again a Friday, I'm the keeper this evening, Sanguine. How are we both doing tonight?
I'm doing far better than last week.
That's good to hear. Not quite as knackered?
Nope. I have adjusted my limits accordingly. That's the one thing that sucks when you're dieting and losing weight. It's like you have to relearn how to do everything, like including drinking.
You say that, but I've also lost a fair chunk of weight, and yeah, still has absolutely no fucking effect on me. I'm having 4 drinks with dinner tonight.
Stop bragging. No one likes a bragger. Hey, you said you're a giant dwarf, so it's like those guys are get knackered.
Yeah, I'm a giant dwarf, so I get the giant dwarf tolerance buff, and I can just put down drinks like there's no tomorrow and still be completely sober. That's going to be good. Sorry, just pouring out one of my drinks for this evening as the last bit of my dinner is getting ready. But before that, Adam, you haven't answered. How are you doing this evening?
Shit. I'm trying to figure out, I feel like a hobbit. Like, guys, so when's second breakfast?
So, you feel like a hobbit with your finest pipe weed in the Shire. I'm the giant dwarf with my barrels of booze. And, Gabby,
what mythical race would that
do
mean?
you feel like?
We got the hobbit, we got the dwarf.
Yep. So do you feel particularly elven tonight, or are you more the bog standard human, or are you going for one of the other non-Tolkien mythical races, or are you potentially in a very dark mood, so you're going to go one of the evil corrupted races?
I'll have to think about that, and also think about your words, because right now my Wi-Fi, it sounds all like "Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto" on my end. I think my Wi-Fi is taking a crap.
Ah. And this is almost done. So, oh, go ahead.
If it's not one thing with me, it's the other. Jesus.
No.
And it's not just the in and out of me getting closer and further from my mic. It's actual roboting on top of that, I'm guessing.
Okay, right there, what you said sounded so much better. Can you say something else?
Yes, I can say many things. In fact, that's one of my talents. I can just talk endlessly about random bits of bullshit. In fact, I could do an entire hour-and-a-half show on the various mythological dwarves if we won again.
Oh shit! Do you hear that they're adding lady orcs into the Lord of the Rings? So I mean, we have that to look forward to.
Female orcs?
Yeah, it's the Rings of Power bullshit, right?
Yeah, lady orcs.
The Rings of Power is an abomination.
Oh, you talking about that terrible Amazon Prime prequel to the Lord of the Rings nonsense?
Yeah, where they completely got rid of every factor that was known in the universe of, Galadriel. She wasn't martial. She had this other sort of power. She was more mystical in nature, and her power was her influence and her ability to control the area around her, not martially, but magically. That was the whole thing about Galadriel. Rings of Power? Give the bitch a sword.
I feel like we've talked about this before. We probably have. But yeah, I mean, what's more to say? They're taking a giant dookie over, forget the fan base, forget the established lore. Didn't we discuss the whole, trope of how some woke scolds thought orcs were like black people, even though they were literally just like corrupted elven folk, and elven were Caucasian descent. Now that there's actually black elves,
I think
they manufactured the problem like they thought existed.
I think there was a discussion about orcs being, at least what they were saying was the orcs were,
Clearly,
a comparison to a specific race. But what I was saying in terms of, no, I think it was a recent news article about the Rings of Power. I think, is that what it's called?
Yep, the Rings of Power.
But they're looking to expand on the orcs universe and have female orcs. And my first thought was, oh wait, I thought they were just corrupted elves, and or just they were just birthed from the earth type of thing. You know, like
that's because you're correct, sir.
Yep, the orcs are 100% in the Tolkien universe corrupted elves. They were corrupted by Morgoth, if I remember correctly, is the proper name of the god.
Well, I don't know. I should probably watch the Rings of Power to see what they say and how they came about. Because apparently, holy shit! Because wait, is the show even out? I thought it's just a bunch of trailers.
I thought it had just come out a little bit ago, and it was the trailers.
Well, these are all streaming services stuff, so I can't really watch them.
Yeah, it's on Amazon
reviews.
Prime, if I remember correctly. Here, I actually have Prime because I do Prime delivery, since I don't like waiting for the shit that I order.
We'll have to do one of those torture is how you make friends streams one of these nights, but subject ourselves to the abortion that is the off-kilter gravy train leech of a that is the series.
Do a torture stream where it's a watch-along. We won't actually show it on screen. We'll just be talking about, oh, good fucking God, are you shitting me?
Or do like one of those, you know how Rags, you guys have heard of YouTuber Rags, like they'll watch like a video that takes 30 minutes or an hour and do like a 6-hour stream out of it. Like,
hold on. I think
pause it every couple of moments to make commentary. It should be good.
I think Gabby needs a pirate cap over there.
A what?
And a yo ho ho. Yo, let's stream.
A pirate's life for me.
I'm not opposed to it. Let's be realistic.
I don't know. I mean, traditionally, that kind of environment doesn't fare well for the ladies.
Well, why not? Hold on. Hold on. I am
not
I
plundered
saw the
to be
Disney
plundered,
movie.
sir. How dare you?
Hold on. Are you not familiar with the Pirate Queen of China?
Yeah, she was a lady.
I'm no Anne Bonny, okay?
She had a sword and a hat.
Because this is one of the things that always pisses me off whenever it's, well, we want to make a show about a strong female. And I'm going, okay, pick one of the ones from history or make an actual character and roll with that. But no, they don't want to do that. They just want to bastardize something.
Same thing with Marvel comics, like.
Yep.
I mean, come on, it's easier to bastardize it in the long run.
Except, like I said, there's all kinds of shit that you easily have access to when you're looking at history. Again, the Pirate Queen of China. She was... Oh, go ahead.
A British lady.
No. The Pirate Queen of China is an actual figure from history. She had one of the largest pirate flotillas ever, had thousands upon thousands of ships, and was fucking with Imperial China's shipping, as well as fucking with the Japanese, everyone in Southeastern Asia, all the way up to Korea. Effectively, that entire stretch of Asian coastline was getting fucked with by one woman and her pirates.
So far, I kind of like the cut of her jib.
Yeah. And she has this fascinating story of how she became the pirate queen. It starts out somewhat in the way that you would expect, where she becomes the pirate queen because she married a successful pirate. He ends up dying. She's able to seize control over his entire force and then grow it several times over. And just starts...
Took notes.
Oh yeah, she just starts wreaking absolute fucking havoc to the point where the Emperor ends up designating an admiral and saying, I don't care what the fuck it takes, find her, kill her, destroy her fleet. So it's over years and years they try to hunt down this woman, and if I remember correctly, she's able to force the Chinese emperor to negotiations.
Now, hold on. How come Disney didn't go with this story instead of Mulan?
Well, because they decided to absolutely bastardize the story of Mulan and make it so that it was now suddenly, mystic powers, that it was complete bullshit.
Well, hold on. That's the live
to be
action
fair,
movie.
Disney is a kids company. Like Grimfield being made. Like if it's targeted towards children, some stuff cut out makes a whole lot of sense. Like Cinderella. Like
I'm not talking about
like
the
Swan.
animated Mulan being mystic bullshit. That one was fun, and that one still told a really good story. I'm talking about the live action Mulan.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I
live
literally
action
did.
Mulan
I
was.
forgot about that.
Yeah, because the live action Mulan, they decided that they weren't going to have Mushu or the ancestral spirits or anything like that. They were going to do something more realistic. They're going to make her a fucking witch. Wait, what? Yeah, she's a witch, effectively. She has mystical powers that they tried to cloak in the Far Eastern mysticism of, that's just, she has ridiculous chi control. Look at the shit that she does. She's a fucking witch. She's a martial witch, but she's a witch. They didn't do it.
Even. I'm sorry. It's just so much more substantial because she does this for her family. So like her communing with her ancestral like spirits and having a guardian spirit help her again for the family, aided by the family, is like more complete and makes a lot more sense to me than she's a witch.
And the whole thing about the animated version was that she didn't have some ridiculous power that was innate to her and only her. What she had was she was clever and she didn't give up. So she figured out the way to deal with shit. That was the story of Mulan. She didn't get to the top of the climbing pole by fucking casting a spell and floating her jolly ass up there. No, she got there by realizing, if I wrap these two fucking weights together, I can climb it like this.
I will say, with like Mushu, I don't think he really did anything other than just be like a Jiminy Cricket type of character for Mulan.
Yep.
In the entirety of the movie. But I can't be mistaken. There might have been one or two points where he helped, like he aimed a cannon or something. Like,
yep.
I can't be for sure. It's been a while since I've seen the movie.
There were a couple points
he helped her train. He like did aid like a smidge in the battle or two.
Yeah, I think he was mostly just the.
He helped in the final battle. He ended up lighting a firework that then distracted the Mongol leader, and then lit another firework that hit the Mongol leader. And then at one point, during the big battle where they think that they defeat all the Mongols, she runs out with that massive firework, the Chinese rocket thing that they were
the
using.
big dragon cannon of a firework.
Yep. And she's trying to strike it with her flint striker, and her flint striker is not getting a spark. She just grabs Mushu and treats him like he's a cow's udder, causes him to some flame onto the
Yanks and tugs, and not in the fun way.
Yeah. Gets him to spew flame onto the fuse, and that's his contribution. But pretty much everything that's done in Mulan, the cartoon one, had it where Mulan is a person, just a person. She's brave, she's clever, but there's nothing that
she overcomes her faults. That's like the whole point. Like, she is set above the rest because she still competes in this society that, like, that's actually really female empowerment. Like, she goes up against the odds, and like, through a bit of help, she still has so much like perseverance and courage and her strength. She couldn't have done anything, even with the assistance, without all of those other previous factors.
Mm-hmm.
How do you fuck that up?
That's the whole point of the cartoon Mulan. And then live action, they go, hey, you know how we had just this intelligent, determined character, and that was the only thing that set them apart from everyone else?
What? No! Are you kidding me? The best part of it was hearing what all these soldiers wanted in a girl worth fighting for.
Yes.
Especially the one that cooked them a nice meal.
But you know how we had these fantastic supporting characters, and we had this main character that they didn't have any ridiculous superhuman powers. They were just intelligent and capable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get rid of all of that. And instead, we're going to have
too relatable.
Absolutely no supporting characters worth note. But we'll get Jackie Chan to be, I want to say he was the Emperor. And then also, rather than having it be a character that is...
Wait, they got Jackie Chan to be the Emperor?
Yeah, Jackie Chan was the Emperor in the live action, if I remember correctly. He was either the Emperor or he was the General.
Oh, in the live action.
How is Jackie Chan? I forgot about it.
Yeah.
Whereas Jackie Chan...
staple like the 90s and 2000s, and now I'm just like, I forgot about his face.
Yeah, whereas in the original, in the Chinese version, Jackie Chan was Shang's voice. So he was the commander's voice, and his Mandarin, let's get down to business, is fucking fantastic. Jackie Chan actually has a decent set of pipes on him. But when you watch the live action, they got rid of pretty much every supporting character. Then rather than having it be just this girl succeeds because she was determined and she was clever, no. Let's make it so that she's a chosen one and has a magical ability that is entirely due to her birth, not due to anything that she trained in, not due to anything that she really accomplished.
Not some self-motivating factor.
Yeah, it is
some initiative and some drive and some passion on her end.
It is just something that is entirely innate. The bitch was born with it. She didn't have to do anything for it.
I'm going to apply my forehead directly to the desk.
Mm-hmm. So they took. I thought it was Jackie Chan the General then? Because I remember Jackie Chan being in the live-action Mulan. Let me double-check.
It's got to be the live-action movie, because the only... In Mulan, in the animated movie, I just remember Donny Osmond was the dude who sang the song.
It was Jet Li as the Emperor.
Wait, Jet Li?
Jet Li was the Emperor in the live-action one.
Oh,
Jackie Chan was the leader in the cartoon one, but it was the Mandarin language version of the cartoon Mulan had Jackie Chan as the leader. It was Jet Li was the emperor. Sorry, that was my mistake. Jet Li was the emperor. Donnie Yen was the commander. But yeah, they got rid of.
I love Donnie Yen. Oh, I want to watch Iman now.
Yep. But they had really good casting that they made completely fucking pointless because no one's character matters. And even the main character, it's not that she had some hard-fought skill or anything like... No. It's all entirely innate. She didn't really have to do anything.
Which is weird, because if you're trying to repurpose it for, like, more like woke scoldy reasons, like female empowerment, it's like, it's literally like the definition of regressive. Like, this is the shit we're talking about when we talk about regressive.
Yeah, when you make it so that any ability is completely inborn and they don't have to work for it.
They don't have the drive to do it, it's just thrust upon them, and they have the magical powers inside of themselves to do it to begin with.
Yeah,
so, like, fuck the training arc. Like, fuck the motivation, like, and the reasoning, like...
And it comes across almost as they're the Ubermensch. Wait, isn't that one of the main things that drove the Nazi ideology? Fuck you. They aren't doing even a proper Nietzschean Ubermensch. No, they're doing straight up. Yeah, they're the Aryan, effectively.
Uber Nietzsche. I don't know.
Nietzsche's Ubermensch was actually interesting. The Aryan idea of Ubermensch was just fucked. And like I said, they're functionally falling into the, oh yes, this person is just born innately better than everyone else.
Sounds like a science fiction movie.
Mm-hmm. But they did that to fucking Mulan.
Wait, hold on. When did they do that to Mulan?
In the live action.
Oh, the live fucking see, I didn't. Yo, I've been staying away from the live action. All of them, because.
Because it's god awful.
I don't think anything good could have come out of it. But if you're telling me that the live action Mulan has science fiction, yeah, no, I'm out.
Like I said, the live action Mulan, they explain why Mulan's able to do stuff. Not as Mulan learned how to do it, but because Mulan was born with this power. So it's effectively a genetic argument of, yeah, Mulan's badass because Mulan is genetically predispositioned to be a bad... Actually, it's not even predispositioned to be a badass. It is... Mulan is genetically programmed to be a badass, effectively, with how they do that argument.
Well, actually...
Because they don't even have...
Oh my god, the well actually, bro.
It's not like she...
Genetically, she is defending her father. So, genetically, she's... yeah, get the fuck out. She was supposed to just don her father's armor and take up his spot. This is ridiculous. She has magic powers now?
Yeah.
Hey. Well, there you go.
She has magic powers that you can only get by being born with magic powers.
But she's also a witch?
Functionally.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, they made it so that the reason why she's so badass isn't because she put in work and learned how to be badass, which is what the old school Disney movie had, where...
Every good story has a training arc, especially coming from a weeb. We love training arcs. It shows the progress in the story and the timeline and the fact that it's actually relatable. Because guess what? Anything takes work. That
Yep.
should be the moral of the story. Like, apply yourself and you can get better. That is motivational. That is the way shit is run in reality. That's how
Whereas,
you associate with fiction.
But
yep. Whereas in
hold on,
the
Gabby. Don't you think it'd be a lot easier to just show a story where the protagonist is just given all these gifts right off the bat, and just right away they can do all the things? I think that might be a sure sale ticket. I mean, that's
the
just me.
Ray Palpatine school of thought, yes.
Whoa.
I do not need to marry Sue. Like that, if I wanted to marry Sue, I would go to fanfiction.net for a self insert. No, thank you. That's not what I want for my mainstream storyline. Take it. I don't want to see it. I don't even want to smell it. Get it away from me.
You smell it. I don't want to smell it either.
I don't want to see it. I don't even want to smell it. Like, get it away. It's
That's
not in my
getting too
peripheral
close.
anything.
No way.
In the movie, the way that they do it is in the live action, they have her run off to go join the military so that her father doesn't have to, as it was in the cartoon one. So far, so good. She joins up with the training, immediately is better than everyone else. They then go on their first raid. She immediately just absolutely dominates their first battle. But she gets taken out by the Mongol sorceress bitch.
Whoa, dude.
Then,
Why does she have
due to her being taken out, and due to how badass she was in the fight, they realize that she has these powers, these mystic powers, and they also realize that she's a woman. And due to having mystic powers and being woman, means that she's completely evil. They cast her out. She goes running off to deal with the Mongols herself. As she goes running off, she runs into the sorceress woman again, and with no training, squares off with and then ends up winning over the sorceress woman. Then they go to attack the Mongols, who are already attacking the capital. And yeah, because she has this innate power, she's just good to go. No training arc, no need to learn how to do this shit. She just automatically knows and defeats the Mongols. Whereas, look at the cartoon where she signs up to protect her father. Both of them start out the same. She goes to the training academy. She's one of the worst in the training academy in the beginning. Throughout that entire song, everyone starts god-awful in the beginning, but she's one of the worst in the song. And she remains one of the worst until about halfway to 3/4 of the way through the song. Then she starts kind of being on par. And then it's at the very end of the song that she shows that she's capable and becomes the respected member of the unit. And then it carries on where each time that something happens, she's getting better. And you can obviously see that she's getting better. And they don't try to go, oh yeah, she's just as strong. No, they show at several points that the other people in the unit are physically stronger. It's just she's more capable and more clever. She knows how to use her abilities. She knows how to use her shit. And then that is where the story ends off, with her, due to everything that she learned in the story, due to every trial and tribulation before, figures out how to win. That's a fantastic story. That's one that actually means something. The live action one's complete horse shit.
I would say this is exactly where comic artists and upstarts need to go. And look at this. Like, this is
Mhm.
a story that you can, especially with in terms of like the artistic field, you can get away with uh, detailing chunks of the story without saying a lot of words, but
Mhm.
getting away with portraying it in detailed imagery. Um, damn, what was the name of the
Show,
story?
don't tell. That was just the old 90s animated Mulan.
Ah, shit. Oh, we can't use that.
The old 90s animated Mulan had fantastic storytelling and visual storytelling. It worked amazingly. The live action just threw all of that out and made it shit. And we keep on having these things that will take amazing stories with fantastic storytelling and visuals, and then they just shit them up.
It is depressing, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Because you see the same
So depressing.
you see the same in Star Wars. Star Wars, the original trilogy, absolutely fantastic. You saw Luke start as a fuck up and kind of inept, and as the story went, he became more and more capable until at the end of the original trilogy, he is a proper fucking hero that's able to do ridiculous shit. But you've seen him fuck up how many times before that?
We have no answer. It's very clear cut.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when the best Star Wars, because there was like the 6 movies and then we had fucking Ray.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when it was so clear cut which one was better? And then we had Disney take it over. Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, it's infuriating that the quality of writing in general has fallen off that sharply. Because it's not just Disney.
Even Doctor Who had writers on their staff, like the last
Mm-hmm.
couple of doctors, who had never done science fiction.
Yep.
I stopped watching after David Tennant. Like, I watched a couple of episodes with the next guy, but like, dude, I already saw the way. Like, I already saw what was happening. Like, gosh darn it.
Yeah, when you go back to the beginning of New Who, so there's Old Who and then there's New Who.
Mm-hmm.
New Who pretty much pops off with the 9th Doctor, Eccleston.
Yes,
Eccleston was a fantastic Doctor.
he was too short lived. He should have been he should have had a longer run.
He should have, but he was a Doctor that was a perfect bridge between Old Who and then the rest of New Who, because he was angry. He was angry. He was pissed off. He had almost completely given up, and then he started to become hopeful again. And as his hopefulness increased towards the end of his run, when he ends up regenerating, he becomes David Tennant, who is the most hopeful of the lot. Just ridiculously excited about everything that's happening. And then you kind of see almost the reverse happen with Tennant as his run goes, where he becomes too excited, too hopeful, too happy. And then a bunch of things start kind of chipping away at him towards the end, until you get that tearjerker moment of, I don't want to go.
I know.
Which was earned. Every step of the way was fucking earned. And Matt Smith, he was a decent actor, or he was a good actor as a Doctor. He had some really good episodes that were penned while he was the Doctor. But the problem was the quality of the stories had already started to take that dip.
Yeah, that's what drew me away because it wasn't Matt Smith or the Bella Swan actress. Like it, I had just noticed something in the writing, and I'm just like, it just for someone who was so avid before, it just kind of turned me off.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I was turned on, but like in a sense, it turned me off. Like I was like,
You don't have to lie. A lot of people apparently got turned on by David Tennant. As...
He's not my normal cup of tea, but hell, I'll take it.
I'm trying to remember the name of the actress for Rose, because apparently she had dubbed him David Tennant.
Ooh.
Yeah. It was a very strange interview where that came out. It was a funny interview, but it was very strange.
I don't know the actress's name, but I thought she was a good assistant too.
Mm-hmm.
She was like the perfect caricature of like, even though she was British, like a really good caricature of like the modern like average woman who Billie Piper. Thank you.
But yeah, she was really good, quintessential modern British woman, and not highborn British woman, but just the Jane Doe average modern English woman.
Just modern woman in general, to be fair. Like, I mean, hell, I'm not British and I still enjoy Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know, she was just an average person doing her average thing, and she had the right enough gumption and courage to trek across the universe and take us along with her.
I do have to say that Donna Noble was my favorite of the companions, though.
Oh yeah, the older redheaded gal. I liked her too. I did. I liked her.
Played by Catherine Tate. But yeah, she was the best overall. The most attractive, I'd have to say, was Martha Jones.
She's a beautiful actress.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to remember. I saw her recently in something else, and she hasn't aged a day. I saw her in a TV series. Gosh, I never watched cable. My parents were. What was it? I don't know. I've seen her, and it's been like 10 years later, and I recognized her. Like, she's
Rose was Chav adjacent. She wasn't quite full blown Chav.
What is Chav?
Lower class English. Think the Faetano. So with women, think Faetano, false everything, more plastic than person.
Is it like the Jersey Shore?
Yes.
Oh.
It's the English Jersey Shore.
Oh.
So that's Chav women, and then Chav men are the white guys that are desperately trying to act like they're inner city black. That's really the best way to explain it. Where they're trying to be hard, they're trying to act like you don't know what it was like to grow up in the streets, and you're just going, dude, shut the fuck up. And yeah, it's community housing, adolescent, violent, Chav. They come from council estates, shit like that. But Rose was Chav adjacent. She wasn't quite Chav.
Yeah, like if she was Jersey Shore, like I would have said, like, oh, this broad is too much.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched Jersey Shore, and I'm just like, okay, that's funny for like one episode, maybe two. but like I can't watch this anymore. Whereas Doctor Who, it's like, yeah, I could watch it. I did watch it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Doctor Who, when it was good, it was fucking amazing, and then they just pissed it all away.
They hired writers who had no previous experience in science fiction. Like, dude.
I'm willing to bet they had no previous experience writing in English.
No, it's like, dude, you're quite like an established franchise.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying people can't ascend to Doctor Who, but like there should be a level of gatekeeping when it comes to talent. Any position has qualifications that should be met, including an established franchise with decades worth of audience and history, and on international television, because even Americans like myself watched it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, bruh.
See, the entire thing, in my opinion, is that there's two qualities that you need in order to have a really good option as a writer for a continuing series. First one is, they have to be able to actually fucking write quality. If they haven't made any really good stories, don't give them the property to play with. And the second one, as important as making sure that you actually have quality writers, is respect for the source material.
Yes. I mean, to be fair, everyone is shitting on that nowadays, but like, not everyone should.
Mm-hmm. It should be that you have proper respect for the source material so that you'll try to make it as true to what it was as you can, while also telling the stories that you're trying to tell.
Imagine going the Cowboy Bebop route and being like, hey, by the way, this thing we're going to make money off of that we're hoping to engage and get all our money from, like the actual fans of the series we were booting, we're also going to give you the bird and tell you you're wrong. But we're still going to take your money, pay pigs.
Mm-hmm. I still find it fucking
that
hilarious.
That did not work out well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a weird choice to take in terms of going with an established storyline and working within that realm, whereas opposed to just crafting your own.
Yeah, exactly. There's been Outlaw Star, Cowboy Bebop, like bounty hunters in space is not an entirely like new concept. A few animes have done it, but like you didn't have to. You literally bought the rights, the copyright rights to something in order to make this live action version, and yet you want all of the fandom, and yet want to take a steaming dump on the fandom.
Mm-hmm.
Who sits in these boardrooms and says that's a good idea? I just want to know who.
People who think that they're going to get a lot of return on
they're huffing their own farts. Like,
no, see, here's the thing. This is what I really believe. If you got just the people that were in the E-suite for the vast majority of companies, and you let them know what's actually going on in the company, they would be shitting themselves, because the actual E-suite for the vast majority of companies does just care about profit. The thing is that all their advisors are hired by the HR department.
Oh, okay.
Well, a good chunk of them, and the only reason I can say that is because Sonic the Hedgehog the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The fucking first movie was they listened to the people saying, hey, change it up.
The animation was garbage. Yeah, they listened to the fandom.
And the second movie was fucking awesome. The second movie is pretty fucking good. So it's it's one of those things where it's like there's some glimmers of hope, but at the long end, especially with like when you're looking at like, yeah, Disney, yeah, they don't give a shit.
I only
They're
I
full
only
of
trust a
hope.
work that actually works with the original creator, like Outlander, the TV series. I read the books, Deanna Gabaldon's books, before like a TV show was even like a twinkle in anyone's eye. And like when I found out she was cooperating with like the writing staff and everything, like of course it's good. Cause duh, the original creator endorses it. She's there. Like they're respecting. Guess what? The source material that they're making money off of.
And I will agree, Assassin, there's a large chunk of media, especially the people that are writing media and all that good shit. And I'm using good shit as, if you can't hear the air quotes when I say that, I'm letting you know that there's air quotes. Massive fucking air quotes. Pretend that my hands have increased in size by at least 30-fold, and I already have fucking weirdly large hands.
Because you're a giant dwarf.
Yes, I'm a giant dwarf.
I still want to see that.
As Skeptock said after meeting me, it was a weird experience shaking my hand because it's a hand, but its size doesn't make sense.
Oh my god. I'm so sorry for laughing.
But massive fucking air quotes when I say the good shit. So those people, yeah, they're seeing it as an opportunity to proselytize and propagandize. But I'm saying that what should be done when it comes to it is, first off, we need to just call HR departments and almost entirely call HR departments. That's where the rot first set in, and as long as they are left alone, that rot will continue to spread, because HR departments are the ones that deal with hiring, they deal with firing, they deal with any complaint of an employee. So they're able to push people out that they don't like, who disagree with them, and they're able to bring in people that agree with them. And they can do so while completely ignoring whether the person that they're bringing in is actually qualified for the job. But assuming that we're hiring, we have proper HR department that is just doing what they should be doing rather than trying to infest the entire company with their own bullshit. What should be done is, when you're hiring for continuing a work, you hire based on quality and respect for the source material. Because that was one of the reasons why the Lord of the Rings movies were so well received. It was clear everyone involved had massive respect for the source material. So there were changes that needed to be made in order to make it work as movies without it being 7 times longer than they already are. But those changes were kept as minor as they possibly could be. So yeah, you don't get to see Tom Bombadil, but that doesn't break the story. It doesn't ruin anything. It's just that character doesn't appear. Whereas you look at other movies and they just have absolutely no respect. The series that pisses me off the most currently, other than the Rings of Power, because good fucking God, that's an abortion.
Mm-hmm. Like I said.
But the one that pisses me off as much, if not potentially even slightly more than the Rings of Power, is The Wheel of Time. Have any of you ever read The Wheel of Time?
I have not.
The books by Robert Jordan, as finished by Brandon Sanderson after Robert Jordan passed, are amazing. It is fantastic, well-crafted, beautiful story, interesting characters with actual stakes throughout. Everything that any of the characters does, they fucking earn it through blood, sweat, and tears. One of the characters, as he's doing things, is literally going mad because that is the price of him doing what he needs to do. And it shows the pain and the sacrifice from that. It isn't just, oh yeah, he does this, and yeah, I know it's supposed to say that he has this drawback, but fuck that, we don't want to have that. No, everything.
Wait. What was the
The Wheel
what
of
was the
Time by
book?
Robert Jordan.
And are they made a show about it?
They made a show about it. So, here, let me pull up some of the casting, because that is probably one of the quickest ways to show you that they had absolutely no respect for the actual source material.
Wait, they didn't show
They-
respect?
The show had absolutely no respect. So I'm going to pull up some fan pictures of what one character should look like. And then I'm going to show you what the show had him cast as.
Oh.
Because this one character, he was one of my favorite characters, was described constantly throughout the book. He starts out as a kind of middle teenager, so that like 14, 15, 16 range at the start of the book, or start of the first book. And even then, he's described as being this massive guy who has arms. His forms are described as looking like steel cables are writhing beneath his skin as he just flexes his fingers. So, absolutely enormous, hulking dude, ridiculously heavily muscled. He's a blacksmith's apprentice. Really good characterization and description of this character. So there's a bunch of fan art about this character. So the first one that I'm going to show is one of the bits of fan art, and this one is a fairly good depiction of this character. He's described as having these yellow eyes at a certain point in the book. Like I said, really heavily muscled. Described as dark hair. He's part of this one village, so everyone from that village has a fairly consistent description, where they aren't pale nor are they dark. They're just kind of tanned because they're a farming community.
Mm-hmm.
So that's based on the description. Really striking appearance, right? Really obvious, distinctive look to him. So let me show you who they cast as Perrin Aberai.
Oh no, he's gonna be like super pale, is he?
So, let me first show another picture, because this is also a really good depiction of Perrin. This is another bit of fan art of Perrin Aberai. Again, massive, hulking dude. Really well described in the books. So there's absolutely no excuse to get his appearance wrong. Now, let me pull up the image of the actor that they cast as Perrin, because this still pisses me off. And the moment that I saw this casting, I went, fuck you, and I didn't even bother. That's Perrin. That is the show's Perrin.
Well, I'm sure he was the best actor for the role when they had the auditions.
He's scrawny.
I like Quipper's comment. We've moved into the deviant art portion of the stream.
Yes. the dude that they cast as Perrin is scrawny. This character that is meant to be this hulking, massive dude with, again, the description that I remember the most is he's just flexing his hands when he's getting a bit annoyed. And it is described as looking like steel cables are dancing beneath taut skin. That is ridiculously descriptive. It is not someone with thin, weak-looking muscles. No, this is someone who is ridiculously yoked. This is someone with massive fucking arms that is really strong, really fit. He's a fucking blacksmith's apprentice. He's constantly swinging his hammer. He's constantly doing all the back-breaking work. He's supposed to be yoked. And they cast this dude.
You know, I can't remember what YouTube channel I was watching, but they were talking about the recent Thor movie, and I guess Christian Bale was talking about how he didn't want to get into this to like a really big bulky frame, like the character Gore, because he was going between shoots and sets and all that. So for him, it wasn't an important thing. And I think this is the same thing. It's going to be they're going to look at it as the actor wants to do what he wants to do, and fuck how the character is supposed to look like. But
also, they not just had really shitty casting for the Wheel of Time, but they completely changed characterizations in the Wheel of Time as well. So,
even
they
better.
Had characters that in the book were working towards a specific goal and were dead set on it, were sacrificing ridiculous amounts of time, effort, energy, and some of them their fucking lives in order to accomplish what they were after. One of them, there's a process. So, Wheel of Time has two different types of magic in it. It has a masculine version of the magic, and it has a feminine version of the magic. They can work together. It's very specific how they work together and how it's all done. And there's a process known as stilling, which is completely severing someone from the magic. It's also, I think, stilling and quieting are two terms that are used interchangeably. So, one of the most horrendous things that a practitioner of the magic can experience is this process. Because they have all this power, they have all this energy, they have a connection to things around them, and then it is severed. And it just kills their motivation. For men, it's described as castrating a man is less damaging to their personality than stilling a man who's able to use the magic. Even though the magic will drive them crazy, you get less damage from completely castrating a man than you do for gentling. Yes, it's stilling is for women, gentling is for men. Thank you, Bug. So, it makes it very clear that this is the case. So, one of the most horrendous things that can happen to someone is for a woman who's capable of using the magic to be stilled. There's a character who, in an effort to see what they've been working towards done, they allow themselves to be stilled. So, this is how ridiculously devoted these characters are to this idea. In the show, they're completely against it. 100% against it. So what the people are fighting, dying, working, and willing to be stilled for in the books, they're actively working against in the show. That's how little respect the writers for the show had for the source material. It is infuriating.
Trust me, as a weeaboo, like, I understand that frustration, and I have for almost decades. Fuck.
See, the thing is that even as a weeaboo, we're used to really shitty Netflix adaptations.
Oh yeah, we used to joke about it until it just became normal. It shouldn't be normal. It's not normal.
But the thing is that the Netflix adaptations showed more respect. In order to get the same level of character difference, you would have had in the Dragon Ball Evolution atrocity that was inflicted upon people.
We don't talk about that. Don't talk about that.
In order to reach the same level of bastardization that they did,
Did you just say Dragon Ball Evolution?
No,
Yes.
we don't talk about that. That living abortion.
In order to achieve the same level of lack of respect for the source material as was present in the Wheel of Time, they would have needed to completely swap the characters of Piccolo and Goku.
You know how bad that movie was? Even like everything
What?
wrong with the YouTube channel, they never sourced the original source material.
Yep.
And they went that far. They're like, this is so bad. We're covering everything. And that's a joke channel. Like, they genuinely did not like it.
Oh, yeah.
No one liked it. It was because it was terrible.
Yeah, it was terribly done. But it was more true to the characters than the Wheel of Time series is.
No. No.
Like I said, in order to approach the level of they didn't give a fuck about the source material as the Wheel of Time, you would have needed to completely swap King Piccolo and Goku's characters.
I'm so sorry. That's so fucking bad. Oh my god.
That's the degree of what the fuck. And also, in order to achieve the level of they really didn't give a shit about the casting either, you know how everyone shits on The Last Airbender, as well they should, the movie version, not the television series, which is fantastic, but the movie version, because they went, okay.
And then Shyamalan.
Yeah. Because everyone's going, why the fuck are the firebenders now Hindi? What the fuck's going on with this? So, in order to achieve the same level as what the fuck casting, if you were doing The Last Airbender, as they did with the Wheel of Time, you would have had...
that it took 4 earthbenders to, like, move a boulder at, like, 2 miles an hour.
Yep. You would have had to have had Sokka. I'm trying to remember all the people. Katara. I'm trying to remember the other waterbenders from the tribe that they started out in. I know it was Sokka, Katara, and there were like 3 or 4 other named ones. So you would have needed to have all of the starting waterbenders that you met, or starting people from the waterbending tribe that you met in the very first episode, would have needed to be from different races.
Well, the North and South Pole are quite far, like, geographically speaking, but they did break off from the same tribe.
No,
So
I'm saying that I'm saying within that one tribe, within that one village, all of the characters that you met in that village, in that one tribe, would have needed to have been of different races.
It's hard for me to input because I refuse to watch that movie. I've seen clips, and that alone, again, turned me off. Like,
The movie is
Because-
horrible. Don't watch it.
that's
Don't
why I
waste your
did it.
time.
I literally did it. I refused to. It's because I know it's awful.
And hey,
Because-
I will accept, like, I kind of understand his uh his viewpoint on terms of like uh the races, but at the same end, it's like it ultimately failed as a movie because it was horrible as a movie.
Oh, yeah.
It was just like,
But
it
I'm
was
saying
bad.
that in order to achieve the same level of what the fuck in your casting as they have in the Wheel of Time, because the Wheel of Time, most of the main group from the Wheel of Time come from the same village. The same village that is so far outside of the control of the capital of that country that most of the people in that village don't even know the fucking queen's name. That's how far outside of anything this village is. So, all the characters in the books are or rather, most of the main characters within the books are described as being from this village and native to this village. You have Paranaber, you have Matt, you have Gwen, you have all these characters supposed to be from this village. In the casting for the show, there's 4 different races in the casting for the show in 6 characters that are all supposed to be from the same village. Well, technically 5 characters that are all supposed to be from the same village. They have 4 different races. And a character that is described as, by the very nature of who this character is, having paler skin and reddish hair, does not have paler skin or reddish hair.
The same thing happened in Harry Potter, where J.K. Rowling tried to retroactively rewrite Jenny. No,
Yep.
not Jenny. Hermione Granger.
Yep. Yeah, in the Cursed Child. But it was just, what the fuck?
I love when things in literal ink and paper, people try to rewrite literally that is the definition of gaslighting.
They cast a black woman as one of the members of a group of people in the Wheel of Time that, like I said, is defined by their light skin and red hair. They're functionally...
They work for Marvel.
They're
Again,
functionally
the redhead
Irishmen.
extinction.
Yeah, they're functionally enormously
Ginger-sided.
tall Irishmen. Is the description of this one group with different eye colors. A black woman was cast. It's the joke that Poe made ages ago where he's pretty sure Hollywood casting directors are all... God damn it, why did I just blank on the term? Dyslexic.
I'm using the term ginger-sided. Thank you, Assassin, in chat.
Yep.
Literally. People, the minority redheads, we're going extinct.
Yep.
And we're getting gaslit out of every franchise.
Yeah. But that's how bad the Wheel of Time series is. Not the book series. The book series, fucking amazing. If you like fantasy works, read The Wheel of Time. It is goddamn fantastic. And most of the books were penned by Robert Jordan. Robert Jordan is fantastic. Robert Jordan also has a cool little factoid about him, because a good chunk of the story is actually from a campaign that he made in D&D for his son and his son's friends.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, he was a fantasy writer that when his son was growing up, his son started getting interested in D&D. So he decided to make a campaign. And as a fantasy writer, he made one of the most beautiful campaigns, apparently.
Oh,
A
it
DM.
warms your heart to hear it.
Yeah, he DM'd the campaign for his son and his son's friends. It's really fucking cute when you read the history of Robert Jordan. And Robert Jordan spent most of his life writing the Wheel of Time series. He ended up getting diagnosed with cancer and knew that it was terminal cancer. So when he was ill, he spent as much time as he could writing the books that he could, but also writing all the notes for where the story was going. And he left his wife the notes with a number of authors that he thought would do a decent job of completing the story. And his wife then selected the one that she wanted from that list. So most of the books were penned by Robert Jordan. The last couple, I want to say, it might have been like 2 or 3 books in the series, were penned by Brandon Sanderson, who is also an absolutely brilliant writer. So I can't recommend The Wheel of Time enough. It is a fantastic series.
I've been meaning to check out some new fantasy series because, like, I did buy the Witcher series, and then I did I'm reading Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell because I enjoy the TV show so much. I'm reading Stan Collins' novel, which is what it was based on. So I'm hoping, because it was a good TV show, and so far it's living up to the material. But like Robin McKinley and stuff was like my jam. I just wish I had more time for reading.
Have you read Jim Butcher's works yet?
No. Jim Butcher, I'm not. If you've talked about him, I've forgotten.
The Dresden Files.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, Jim Butcher has done the Dresden Files, the Codex Alara. Absolutely fucking amazing author. I cannot recommend him enough. Sanderson's works are all absolutely amazing. I can personally vouch for everything within the Cosmere thus far. Good goddamn. With Brandon Sanderson, he came up with the idea of the Cosmere. And in the Cosmere, there's a bunch of different individual standalone series that if you read all of the works within the Cosmere, you start going, holy shit. And you realize that all of these different series connect to each other. And they connect to each other in rather profound and fascinating ways. And as you read each series, you get more of an idea of, wait, so this is how this, oh my fucking God. And everything just starts connecting. It is fantastic. So Sanderson's works I absolutely recommend. Have you read In the Name of the Wind? It's the first book.
I haven't had a lot of time for reading the last couple of years actually. Darn it.
So another series that I would absolutely recommend, the King Killer Chronicles.
King Killer Chronicles?
Yes, the King Killer Chronicles. It has some nice alliteration to it. But it's a series about this man who became one of the most ridiculous heroes in this world and then disappeared. And it's the story of his life. It's really fucking cool. Really well done. And it's fascinating, especially since the main character is passionate about song, passionate about stories, and passionate about magic and learning. And you get to experience all of those from his perspective in a really fucking cool way.
Oh.
And then I would also highly, highly, highly recommend the Gentleman Bastards and the Ryer Chronicles. Or Ryer Revelations, sorry. The Gentleman Bastards is one series, and then the Ryer Revelations is another series. Both of them are fantastic.
And do please DM me those titles as well, like in case I forget. Like
Absolutely.
recommended, because I want new material. And hopefully, fingers crossed, I will have time to actually like delve into it.
Mm-hmm. And let me quickly double check, because the name that Bug just said sounds familiar, but I can't remember if it's on my list to read or if it's one of the ones that I've finished reading. So he said, have I read The Guardians of Flame?
As a weeb, it's hard to tell which. There's like a giant list of have seen, a giant list of, an even much longer list of things we need to watch.
Yeah,
It's easy to lose track because there's a lot of stuff out there. Bless the universe. But sometimes it's hard to keep a track of. It happens.
And Bugga just double checked, that is not one of the ones that I've read yet. I'm guessing it's one that you recommend?
He even dropped the author name. Nice. Joel Rosenberg.
Yep. Yeah, I have not read that one yet. But I'll definitely shoot you the series that I've mentioned, as well as a handful of others, Gabby, if you're wanting to get into a bit more fantasy. I love fantasy, I love sci-fi, so I have a fair number of selections for both.
I'm gonna slide into your DMs then.
Fair enough. Oh, and you guys saw the big news story of the day and yesterday, of course, right? Out of Japan.
Yeah.
Another President Ape died. That's a 0-2, right? On the scoreboard.
Yeah, the former prime minister, the longest serving prime minister of Japan, Abe, was assassinated. And it is...
I was trying to make a joke, but...
I get that. But, yeah, it was kind of fucked up, and the reports thus far are fairly interesting, and they have rather particular wording that makes me go, oh, I need to figure out more about this shit.
They have strict gun control, right? How could someone die of a gunshot?
Yeah, effectively, you cannot get permission to own a pistol in Japan. And the dude made his own pipe gun. And
what was he at? Was he at a? They say was he at a campaign rally?
It was effectively a rally, yeah.
Okay. Was he running for? Because I know he was former prime minister.
Yeah, he was prime minister for 1 year. Then he wasn't prime minister. Then he was prime minister for like a good 10 plus. In so another stretch.
He wasn't in any political field at the moment, or at the time, right?
I think I'm not sure if he was personally campaigning or if he was campaigning for someone else that he thought was a good successor to the line that he established. But the police have said something interesting, which was that the man who committed the assassination has admitted that he committed the assassination. And he said that the reason that he targeted Abe was part of certain organizations.
And
that's the end of that quote.
What kind? That kind of matters. That kind of, a lot of it matters.
That's the thing that I'm going, what the fuck? What is this?
Naughty to fuck.
So yeah, apparently that was the reason why it was targeted, which is okay. I'm looking forward to when I find out what the hell that means. But until then, it's complete confusion. And then there's the Chinese social media response. Have you seen anything of that, Adam?
No, I haven't. Chinese, no.
So, a bunch of different nations weighed in on Abe's assassination in very predictable manners. So, the English Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, said that it was a despicable act.
Didn't Boris Johnson resign recently?
He's in the process of stepping down, I believe, yes.
At the same time. How odd.
But yeah, he said that it was a despicable act. There were a bunch of others that said that they are mourning with Abe's family and the people of Japan to think that such a storied politician was assassinated is heartbreaking, which those are very respectable responses. Chinese social media has been celebrating the assassination of Abe. And the reason why they've been celebrating the assassination of Abe is because Abe was one of the first major politicians and major popular politicians to start advocating for Japan to have a military again, rather than just having the JDF, the Japanese Defense Force.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard to say, because to be fair, Japan were some assholes for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it wasn't just Pearl Harbor. Like, but yeah, I mean, they are their own country. They should have, like, a presence. Like, it's hard. It's weird to go into.
Yeah, they did properly evil shit, but the thing is that Japan as it is now is not Japan under Hirohito and Tojo. Right.
Same things with Germany. Like, you can't
Tojo.
hold them to the same standards. Like, it's a different century, different generation.
Yeah. And there's a really good reason why they want to have a more substantial defensive force than just the JDF. Because do you guys remember what China said that they would do not terribly long ago?
I haven't paid attention to news for quite a while. I've been absorbed in my own melodrama.
When China started to kind of turn up the temperature when it came to Taiwan, Japan said that they had Taiwan's back and that they would provide whatever assistance that they possibly could. Oh. And China turned around with, "Bitch, I'll nuke you until you're glass." So they have a fairly good reason for why they would want to have a defensive...
Sounds like a motivational reason to me.
Yeah. When one of your largest, most aggressive neighbors is saying that they'll fucking nuke you until your island is glass, that's a pretty damn good reason to go, hey, we might want to have a modern, effective, and large military now. But yeah, due to Abe being pro expansion of the JDF and potentially a force other than the JDF, he was extremely unpopular in China. And
I don't get
China,
a toss what China finds popular or not.
yep. So Chinese
China asshole.
Chinese social media was celebrating the assassination of Abe, and there is also a little bit out of Korea of that, but nowhere near as much from Korea as there was from China. And Korea had much the same reason. During World War II, they suffered under the worst aspects of the Japanese military of the time. But yeah, it was just a what the fuck? That came out of nowhere. When it came to the assassination itself, and it also goes to show that if someone really wants to, they'll come up with a way of getting a gun.
It's almost like laws don't apply to criminals bent on breaking those laws.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Especially when anyone is just a correctly sized bit of pipe away from having a gun.
Oh God, remember those freaking gun collection stuff? They tried to have those here in the U.S. and people just literally built their own firearms.
Oh, there was
to get $200 or $300 back from our government.
Yeah, there was one in New York, I want to say, where a dude just effectively fucking Ford assembly lined a shit ton of pipe guns and got thousands upon thousands of dollars from the New York government. But just, oh, you're doing a buyback? Okay, here, I'll just crank out this shit. So I produced a bunch of, it might be able to survive a single shot, but that would even be dicey. Pipe guns, and sold them back to the government, which is fucking glorious. I love that. And
it's almost like when you have a large government state, it's like the more you bulk up on that, the more people are going to manipulate the system. Oh
yeah.
Imagine that.
Yep. And
people are going to work smarter, not harder.
Assassin, you are 100% right that what Japan did does fairly well pale in comparison to what Mao did.
Mm-hmm.
Because Mao did a lot of really fucked up shit, and it's infuriating that most people don't really know the history of various communist nations.
Yep. Communism has been under-taught in most academic circles. And we are suffering the consequences for that.
And every time there was well, that wasn't real communism argument. It just pisses me off because,
I hate that argument. I want to shoot that argument in the kneecaps.
Yeah, and if every time something has been tried, it fails in the exact same way, at the exact same step, without fail, without exception, what you're trying to do is fucked from the get-go. It'd be one thing if it failed at different points each time, but no, it is the same exact point. Every fucking time. In the same exact way. That produces the same exact result. There's no deviation. If you really think that it's the way to go back, rework it, and come up with a way where it won't fail at the same point in the same way every fucking time it's tried.
They have reworked it. It's just true communism, true socialism has never been tried before.
But the thing is
That wasn't the real thing.
that they'll say that, but then when you ask, okay, so how was it instituted? It's instituted in the same exact way that fails at the same exact step, the same exact manner single fucking time that it's tried. So
I'm
they need to
talking
rework.
about their kind of bullshit argument. Like that is their go-to. It's never
Oh,
really
yeah.
been tried before.
See, the thing that they could say is that it hasn't been successful before, but people have tried to institute communism. And yeah, you can say that they failed to institute communism, but they've tried. And if they've tried and it's failed in the same way,
They're gonna blame capitalism or something else on it. Like they can't admit it's a falling apart, debunked architecture like model of how a society should function. They will never admit it. It's never been tried before. It's never been properly tried before. If only they were in power, they would do it right.
yeah, and that's the thing that is so infuriating. It's a zombie idea. And I hate zombie ideas. I hate zombie arguments. Another perfect example of a zombie argument is the wage gap, as well as the did you know that 1 in 4 women are victims of rape?
Those have been debunked.
Yeah, but there's zombie arguments because they just keep on popping up. No matter how.
Gap, even Obama perpetuated the wage gap, and that just trust me, as a woman who works like all the fucking time, I'm still mad about the wage gap. Bullshit.
Yeah. Because when you actually dig into the stats, it disappears. And when you dig into the methodology, yeah, and when you dig into the methodology for the 1 in 4 women stat, you realize how fucked that one is. Because do you remember how the 1 in 4 stat was developed?
Oh, just from a basic bitch survey?
It was a basic bitch survey at a college where they had things rated 1 to 5, so it was not at all likely to most likely, as most 1 to 5, or when it wasn't a how likely are you, but how many times have you done something, it would be 1 effectively not at all to 5 constantly. And they had a 1 to 5 scale that then the people analyzing the data took that 1 to 5 scale and translated that 1 to 5 into yes and no's, then translated yes and no's into +1s or 0s. Then they analyzed the stats using that +1 or 0 method. Then they ran that method of processing through another process in order to refine, and refine is again in those massive fucking air quotes, the data further until eventually they got 1 to 4. It was functionally the statistical version of, I can bike at 120 miles an hour. Have you ever seen that breakdown? The how you can claim that you bike at 120 miles an hour with rounding?
No.
So there's a thing that has been brought up as a method of showing how this shit is bullshitting you. And it is the claim that you can bike 120 miles with rounding. Or 120 miles an hour with rounding. So it deals with converting between different units and then rounding every time that you convert, thus slowly increasing how much you've rounded and how high the number is. So it starts with like the number of miles an hour that you actually bike. That then you can convert into the number of feet per second, and you round that step. Then you convert that to the number of meters per second, you rounded that step. Then you convert to the number of, I want to say it was knots, because you suddenly start using nautical speeds. You convert to the number of knots that you were doing. You round it that step. Then you convert, and it goes through like 37 unit conversions and rounding steps until, yeah, you get to, you were traveling at this number of knots, which when you convert that back into miles an hour, you're at 120 miles an hour. And it's just absolute horseshit. It is hilarious, but it is absolute horseshit.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, speaking of the gender pay gap, I sent a very funny video in StreamYards. And it's, not to mention, 4 years old, but it still holds up.
Oh, the Jonathan Pye. Nice.
I love Jonathan Pye.
I'll toss it into chat for everyone else to be able to pull up at their leisure. Yeah, that one's a fantastic video. And yes, it is effectively Democrat accounting. With the, here's how you can prove that you go 20 or 120 miles an hour on your bicycle.
And that's why you should actually be a part of the highway traffic.
Yep. But yeah, it's one of those things that if you know how to fuck with numbers, you can get numbers to say goddamn near anything that you want them to say.
Well, that's been common knowledge for quite a while, like just
Yep.
number manipulation when it comes
Yeah.
to percentages, for example. Like if someone looks at an increase in something, they're not looking at, like the actual score before and after. So it's like if an incident occurred that happened only 10 times a year, and then it happened 20 times a year.
That's a 100% increase.
It's a 100% increase, which looks like an exorbitant amount.
Yep.
But when you think about the scale, and a whole lot of people would rather have their biases proven in their favor and like manipulate numbers and actually give a conceptual, accurate, logical viewpoint of the world.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like how one of the worst practices that happens in stats constantly is a misassigned keystone stat, sometimes called a legend stat or a critical stat. It's the stat that you need in order to interpret the rest of the data. A perfect example of this is when it comes to police shootings. So an incorrect keystone stat that is constantly used when it comes to police shootings is the percent of that group in the general population. That is never the right stat. Because everyone can immediately recognize that someone who has never interacted with the police, has never been near the police, has a 0% chance of being shot by the police.
Mm-hmm.
So, using general population, not a valid stat because this includes people that have a 100% chance not to be. So what you would want, the optimal stat, is the percent of police interactions. Most areas, you can't actually look into the percent of police interactions by demographic. So the second best stat that you can use is a guesstimation of that percent of police interactions by looking at the percent of violent and non-violent crimes. Because a certain percent of non-violent criminals will end up doing something during their apprehension that results in police having due cause to shoot them. Violent criminals will often do something that results in police having due cause to respond. So you look at that stat, and then when you analyze the data looking at those stats, the representation that people try to sell ends up inverting. And it inverts rather drastically. But you see that constantly with stats. They'll use the wrong keystone stat, which makes it a what the fuck.
Right. How do you feel about it, Adam?
I think Adam might have zonked out.
He's doing a me from last week.
Yep.
Nighty night.
And sadly, because it's Adam, I don't have the ability to wake him by singing the Byros Queer Kids Stuff theme song like I do with Inquisitor. But yeah, another one that Assassin of the Grey brings up that annoys the shit out of me is the scientific consensus when it gets brought up. Because there's one form of valid scientific consensus. And people, when they talk about the scientific consensus, always leave out the most important word that makes it valid. Gabby, do you know what word they leave out?
No, I don't.
Begrudging. A scientific consensus does not fucking matter unless it is a begrudging scientific consensus.
That sounds like such a negative word, though, begrudging.
It does, but then when you think about it, it becomes the most important word in scientific consensus.
Like, I begrudgingly told you this is the way shit works. And Trust me, as an employer who's telling people how to do their job, it's like, don't tell me you begrudgingly do this job. I'll find someone who will cheerfully do this job.
Assassin of the Grey, you're 100% wrong when you say that there is never consensus, there is only dogma. That is entirely wrong when it comes to science. When it comes to science, when science is done properly, you end up with begrudging consensuses. So a begrudging consensus is when someone comes up with an idea, they failed to demonstrate an issue in their idea, so they put it forward to others, who then also try to point out flaws in that idea. And when they fail to point out flaws, it reaches a point where so many people have tried so many different methods to find a way that this idea fails, and they have failed to break the idea, that finally they're forced to go, okay, I've tried and I've tried and I've tried, and this fucking thing I can't break. So until someone else manages to break it, or until I manage to do so at a later date, I'm forced to say that, okay, this is probably accurate for now. It's at least correct enough that I can use it. And this is done time and time again when you look at the history of science. Newtonian physics was a begrudging consensus. People were constantly trying to prove that Newtonian physics failed at something critical. And eventually, they were able to find something that it failed critically at. But there's a lot of shit that it is correct enough at, and people were forced to go, okay, yeah, it fucking works, I guess. God damn it!
It's like a debate between YouTubers. Like, overall, someone's going to be the winner. There might be some things here and there that need correcting, as well it should be, because we're all but mere mortals, and we all have arguments that we can't be 100% correct, but overall, Is this theory sound? It plays out. No one else has any better shit going on. So ergo,
Yep, and there's a critically important idea when it comes to science and scientific research especially, which is something being correct enough. Have you ever heard the idea of something being correct enough, Gabby?
no, I haven't. I was normally taught it should be either right or wrong,
So a
or
perfect
at least
example,
unexplained.
a perfect example of correct enough is again the example that I just used for a begrudging scientific consensus, Newtonian physics. So when you're talking about Newtonian physics, there's a lot that we still use Newtonian physics for. When you're trying to figure out the gravitational pull between a person and the Earth, or structure and the Earth, you'll most likely be using Newtonian physics. Because it is correct enough to give you the right answer for that. There's certain parts where Newtonian physics breaks down, which is why we have Newtonian physics was replaced at certain levels by the Einstein theory of gravity. So Newtonian gravity versus the Einstein theory of gravity. Also the relativistic theory of gravity, which is the Einstein theory of gravity. So you had Newton, who came up with a general theory for how gravity works. And it worked amazingly well in a shit ton of different respects. It was able to predict the locations of planets that we did not yet know existed. Because they should be there according to the math. That's how fucking awesome Newtonian physics was. It predicted planets that we did not know existed. And
That's pretty gosh darn incredible.
yeah, it's fucking awesome. And there's a bunch of other things that it was able to predict that we were then able to validate. But we started realizing that Newtonian physics really broke down rather severely in certain respects. So we knew that it wasn't 100% right, but we knew that it was extremely accurate in a number of different things. So you ended up with additional, or more people trying to work out a better theory of gravity. Einstein put forward his, and one of the things that Einstein predicted is, have you ever heard of gravitational lensing?
Not the lensing part. Gravitational lensing?
Gravitational lensing is, according to Einstein's theory of gravity, light is affected by gravity.
Oh, yes. Actually, yeah. Now that you describe it that way, I've heard of it. It's been a while since I've been in academic circles. But yeah, no, I remember that. It gets warped by gravitation.
Exactly.
Especially like stars and starlight and stuff, right?
Yep. If you have a sufficiently massive object, it will bend light around it. And that's the idea of gravitational lensing, that if you have a sufficiently massive object move near or in front of a light source, the light will actually be bent by the gravitational fields. And that was one of the predictions of Einstein's theory of gravity. This was then demonstrated. When people were trying to say, this is complete bullshit, there's no way that this is right, we're going to prove that this is false because this is one of the major predictions of it, so if we can show that this doesn't work, then that shows that the rest of it's bullshit as well. And they went to set out and show that it was absolute horse shit, and son of a bitch, the light bent. Fuck. So then people set out to prove other aspects of it wrong. And each time that they tried to prove something wrong, every time that they tried to show that the prediction that was made by the theory did not hold up, they kept on running into, fuck, it actually does. God damn it. And people were eventually forced to go, okay, every prediction that we've made about it thus far, we've been able to demonstrate that it was correct in that. And we've failed to demonstrate that it was incorrect in that. And it is actually really useful when we're using it to make those predictions, which is why those predictions end up turning out accurate. So, fuck, I guess it's right enough. It isn't perfect. It isn't right in every respect. Because, for instance...
Until something better comes along.
Exactly.
And that's fair. That's fair.
Even after something better comes along, it still might be correct enough. Which is where Newtonian gravity comes in. Because you still learn Newtonian gravity in high school. You still learn it in college. You still use it in college, in research, in various other sections. You use it in engineering. Because, while we know that it isn't 100% accurate, we know where it fails. In the things that it succeeds in, it is correct enough to continue using it. Especially since it is much easier than the relativistic theory. And the relativistic theory, in the areas where Newtonian theory works, it functionally... the relativistic theory simplifies down to the Newtonian theory. So the Newtonian theory is still correct enough to use. And you see this constantly in science. You'll see ideas being correct enough. And like I said, you have the begrudging scientific consensus. Those are the only two things that matter when it comes to science. A begrudging consensus and something being correct enough. And you see the begrudging consensus not only in gravity, but when you look at evolutionary theory. So, now when we hear the word evolutionary theory, we think Darwinian evolutionary theory, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of Lamarck before?
Not in my recent recollection, no.
Lamarck
like I said, I have been away from school for quite a while.
Yep,
So
Lamarck...
I'm not sure if mine's the normal recollection of note or if I'm just an idiot. Which I am an idiot.
I'm willing to bet that most people in chat are going, who the fuck's Lamarck? Lamarck was a contemporary of... Yes, Lamarck was a frog. But Lamarck was a contemporary of Darwin. So Darwin had the idea of evolution via natural selection. So it was over the time of generations, life would end up changing due to selective pressure. Lamarck had the idea that changes within an organism's life were then carried on to or inherited by its progeny. So the Darwinian version of the giraffe getting its exceptionally long neck was over the course of generation after generation after generation after generation, the member of the proto-giraffe species with the longest neck was the one that was most likely to survive. So as the longest neck continued to be selected, you ultimately ended up with a species that had an extraordinarily long neck. And the predictions that were made by Darwinian evolution when it comes to this bear out. The experiments that we've done in order to test Darwinian evolution have borne out as well. Lamarckian evolution was a very different idea. So, rather than it being that the change was occurring between generations and was based on which member of a species survived to reproduce, the Lamarckian view of giraffe evolution was you had a generation of proto-giraffes that would stretch their neck and eat a little bit higher up on the tree. And every generation would stretch their neck, and through the process of stretching their neck, they would end up slightly elongating their neck.
Oh, so like somehow physically trained attributes would be passed down genetically?
Exactly.
No, that's not the way that shit works.
That was Lamarckian evolution.
Ah.
And they were contemporaries. They both came up with their version of evolution. And when it came down to it, Lamarckian evolution was rejected because its predictions failed. Darwinian evolution was accepted as correct enough, and it was begrudgingly accepted because
Lamarckians?
many people that started out as proponents of Lamarckian evolution became Darwinian evolution proponents.
Because, I mean, you can have certain physical, like, attributes that will propel you forward and aid you in your endeavors. But, like, you can't, like, bulk up and, like, eat protein and expect, like, your offspring to have the same muscle mass as you. It's not, you can have certain, like, contributing factors, proclivities, like certain things that might aid you towards that direction. But like me eating a lot of wheat will not ensure my child will have a good digestive tract. That's not the way that shit works.
Yeah, but that was the Lamarckian idea, that it was these traits that were acquired through life could be passed down. Whereas Darwinian evolution was, no, it's the traits that are genetic, not acquired traits, not traits that you train or develop as you go through life, but only at the core of them, genetic traits. So I'm large and strong. A certain chunk of that large and strong aspect is I've worked out before and I had a good diet. So I was able to grow fairly tall due to my diet not restricting my height. And what strength I had innately was then expanded by lifting weights from time to time. But there is still an aspect of my genetics that lends itself towards large, powerful builds. So, progeny that I have will more likely than average be larger and stronger. But if they don't train themselves in the same way that I did, they won't be as strong as I am. Or if they train themselves more than I did, they will be stronger than I am. Or at least have a chance of being stronger than I am. That's the way that it works. And that was the Darwinian version. Like I said, the Lamarckian was acquired traits were passed down.
Well, maybe Lamarckian was tied into maybe they somehow confused how genetics versus upbringing, because upbringing is also very important. Like, so if someone who trains will obviously have an advantage over someone who may have an innate ability to do said thing, but never, like, applies themselves.
And that depends entirely upon... So, there's an idea that was put forward by... I'm trying to remember the name of the intellectual... Spencer. So, Spencer was a proponent of Darwinian evolution fairly early on. He was an extremely brilliant man. He wrote about his ideas on evolution and also on his ideas on how evolution actually plays out. And he talked about there's the idea that, well, it's the fittest that survive, and people so woefully misunderstand what the fittest means. Because the fittest doesn't...
They think it applies to physically, but no, it actually applies to the immune system.
Well, the fittest applies to a bunch of different things, and the most crucial aspect to Spencer's mind, and I would say that he's correct in large part when it comes to this, is fittest is a matter of application. So the fittest when it comes to lifting weights is going to be the person who is the most predisposed towards lifting weights, and the strongest will be the fittest when you're using the benchmark of lifting weights. Now, it's possible that the person who has the absolute highest natural aptitude towards that might be completely temperamentally disinclined from lifting weights. They aren't going to be the fittest. It'll be the person who has the highest aptitude for lifting weights, the highest innate ability when it comes to lifting weights, so the strongest person, who is also prone to actually lift weights. And one of the ways this was expressed was, imagine that there's a chunk of land, there's a wall, and you plop down 100 people. You don't tell them what they're supposed to do. You just plop them down on this land near this wall. So you'll have a certain chunk of the population that will decide, well, this looks like a nice place to live, and they'll start trying to establish homes. So you'll have that chunk of the population will be building shit. And the most fit builder will be the person who has the greatest aptitude towards building and chooses to be a builder. So that person will be the best at building the homes. But you'll also have a certain chunk of the population that, rather than deciding, yeah, this looks like the place that we should be, sees the wall and goes, we need to go over that wall. So they'll start trying to climb it. And the fittest of the climbers will be the person who has the greatest natural ability to climb and also chooses to climb the wall. You'll have another chunk of the population that decides, no, fuck the people going over the wall. We need to go under the wall. So they'll start digging. And the diggers with the most fit diggers will be the diggers that have the natural greatest aptitude towards digging, as well as decided that they were going to dig.
I jumped right back into the conversation at the right time, apparently.
Yep.
Oh, shit.
Most opportune time for you. Like,
Yeah.
welcome back.
Yep.
So,
Welcome back.
Wakey, eggs and bakey.
Yeah, sorry about that.
All good. It happened to me. It's not my turn this week.
What about these diggers?
So, talking about
It builds
Spencer's
character.
talking about Spencer's view on fitness when it comes to what fitness in the evolutionary sense meant. According to Spencer's conceptualization, fitness is having the greatest aptitude as well as the inclination towards something. Because he used an example like the wall example that I'm currently using, and he came up with a bunch of different categories. So there were the builders, there were the climbers, there were the diggers, there were the people that decided that they needed to go around the wall, so they were the trekkers, let's say. And again, just like the other categories, the fittest trekker would be the person who had the greatest innate aptitude towards trekking, while also having the inclination to trek. And add in a bunch of other groups of people. So it's possible that the person who has the highest aptitude towards building, so the highest innate ability when it comes to building decides that they're going to climb. They aren't going to be the most fit builder because while they have that amazing ability, they don't actually apply it in that area. So they aren't accomplished builders. They aren't the most fit builder because they're a climber, not a builder. And it's possible that the best climber would decide that they're going to be a trekker, so on and so forth. So when you look at fitness for each of these groups, it is the person with the highest innate ability that is currently doing the task. And he expanded this to animals because there's some animals. For instance, the animal that I love shitting on the most when it comes to how fucking retarded this animal is. Or not the most, because some fish beat out this animal. Nice, Gabby.
I was making a joke.
Yep, I realize. Sunfish are the animals that I like to shit on the most, and that was very German of you, by the way, Gabby. So, the animal that is the second most is the panda bear. And the reason why I enjoy ripping the piss out of the panda is because the panda should not be alive. And I say this for several reasons. One of them is, pandas don't even like fucking other pandas. In order to get pandas to breed, people have had to film panda porn. And I don't mean videos of pandas fucking. I mean videos of people in panda costumes fucking.
I'm creeped out.
In order to get pandas to fuck. But not only do they have that aspect where they aren't reproducing because they just are choosing not to effectively, but when you look at an animal's teeth and an animal's stomach, you can determine what type of diet they're supposed to have. So, for instance, you look at cats' teeth. When you look at cats' teeth, cats have very sharp teeth. They have functionally no grinding teeth. And when you look at their GI tract and their general and digestive tract, it is clearly designed to process meat and has very little ability to process grains. So with teeth that lend themselves to carnivorism and for a gut that lends itself towards carnivorism, a cat you would expect to be a carnivore. So when you take that into account and then you look at cats, cats are carnivores. In fact, cats are obligate carnivores. Then when you look at horses are a good example. Horses, they have a fuck ton of grinding teeth. Almost no sharp teeth. It's all broad, flat, tough teeth. When you look at their digestive tract, they have several different compartments to their stomach, which allows them to be able to digest cellulose much more efficiently and much better than cats, for instance, which we already covered, were obligate carnivores. And they have long enough GI tracts that they're able to pull out as much from the food that they eat as they possibly can. So everything about this says that it's a herbivore. And in fact, it is a herbivore. Then you look at pigs, and pigs have some sharp teeth. They have some blunt teeth. They have a GI tract that is not really long, not really short. It's kind of in the middle. And they don't have a multi-sectional stomach, but they do have fairly strong stomach acid. So when you look at all of this, that says that a pig should be omnivorous. And
Mhm.
sure enough, pigs are omnivorous.
They are.
So, what do giant pandas eat? This is not a
Bamboo.
trick question. Yes, giant pandas eat bamboo. So, bamboo are effectively a very woody sort of grass, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, if given the other information that I just told you about the GI tract and about the teeth, with that being a purely herbivorous diet, would you expect their teeth to be most like cats, most like pigs, or most like horses?
That's a good question. Um, Especially since I'm not too very intelligent when it comes to animal matters. But since they can eat both meat and veggies.
Well,
They
remember, their
primarily
diet,
eat.
their
I know.
diet
I'm
is...
brainstorming out loud. Let me
Yep.
think about this. Don't give me any teasers. Do
You're
not
going a
give me any
bit too
hints.
clever, though.
I'm trying not to overthink it, but like I do have to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
What were my three options again? No
So you
spoilers.
have the carnivorous cat, you have the omnivorous pig, and you have the herbivorous horse.
More like the horse.
Correct. You would assume that their GI tract and that their teeth would be most like the horse, because the horse is herbivorous and the giant panda is herbivorous.
I'm so glad I got that right.
The problem is that pandas are retarded.
Yes, they are. They roll down hills.
And
while they do have fun, it's not a good survival mechanism.
And while they should have herbivorous digestional tracts and teeth, if they were actually obligate herbivores, like they functionally are when they're given their druthers on what to eat, they're retarded because they actually have a set of teeth and a digestion tract that is most like the pig. They should be omnivores.
Yeah, pigs are very omnivore.
Yeah, pandas should be omnivores. Pandas refuse to eat meat.
Which, I mean, some would consider very good for them. Grass is one, easier to find. Flora is far easier to find than fauna.
Except the problem is that due to their inefficiency at consuming the sole sort of food that they will actually fucking bother to put down their stupid gobs, they have to eat about, I think it's their body weight or twice their body weight in bamboo in order to actually get enough nutrients to continue running for a day.
But grass or flora is a lot easier to hunt down and find than fauna.
But it is also much lower in nutrient density and caloric density, and also that is only really a viable source if you have the proper gastrotract. Because the reason why humans can't survive on just eating lawn clippings is, first off, you would need a fuck ton of lawn clippings. Second off, even with a fuck ton of lawn clippings, we don't really have the ability to break down cellulose properly.
Mm-hmm.
Giant pandas also lack the ability to break down cellulose properly. So, when you hear about giant pandas having a bamboo-only diet, you should be looking at them as askance as you would if your neighbor came to you and said, "Yeah, I survive solely off of lawn clippings." Because it's fucking retarded. It shouldn't be a thing. They should be eating meat, at least in some quantity, just like every other bear on the planet. But no, they're retarded. They just eat bamboo. And because they just eat bamboo, they end up with this fucked up scenario where they have to eat constantly in order to survive, because the only food that they choose to eat is a food that they aren't actually capable of properly digesting.
Which sounds like a whole other headache. Or, butt ache, depending.
Yeah, like I said, they are the animal that I love making fun of the second most. Sunfish are the only animal that beats them, because sunfish are completely fucking useless. Giant pandas are just retarded. And then
But they're so cute.
they're cute, but they're retarded. They shouldn't exist. They should have starved themselves out and just refused to fuck ages ago, to the point where they died out due to just apathy. Then, yeah, another animal that is known for being rather dim is the koala, as Cannibalistic Wizard pointed out. But koalas, they're actually more suited to their food than pandas are. And koalas' food is poisonous to koalas.
No.
Yeah, the reason why koalas are so...
Hold on. Is Adam snoring?
Yes, he is. I'll quickly mute him up. But yes, koalas' food, eucalyptus, is mildly toxic to koalas. So koalas have to eat a fuck ton of eucalyptus in order to survive. But their body has a difficulty breaking down eucalyptus, and it produces a poisonous chemical, which causes the koalas to be in a near permanent state of drunkenness.
What a fun life.
So they are, or I guess high might be a bit more accurate when it comes to koalas, because
Get better.
they're dealing with this chemical that is poisoning them as they digest their food. So they have to go I always have problems with this word when I'm saying it off the top of my head. It's somnant. Let me quickly double check. I don't know why I always have trouble with this word. It's somnant, solomant. I think it's somnant.
Solvent?
Not solvent. Somnolent. There we go. That's the word that I was trying to remember. They go and again, I'm looking at the word and I just fucked it up. Somnolent, which means sleepy, drowsy. They have to rest more because they're being poisoned by the food that they eat. And they are able to break it down over time because they have the right gut bacteria, but it just takes a bit longer. And while they're going through that, they have to kind of go idle while their food digests. And yes, they have to eat, young koalas have to eat their mother's shit in order to get the proper gut bacteria, in order to eat the food.
Well,
But
also, wasn't it also to hide predators, like the presence of young cubs or babies from predators?
the main reason
No
is,
little shits, no little footprints to track.
the main reason is that they need the gut bacteria, because if they did not get the proper gut bacteria, the eucalyptus could actually kill them. It is only because they have this gut bacteria that they're actually able to eat the only food that they eat. But due to that gut bacteria, their food is less damaging to them than the giant panda being an obligate herbivore while having an obligate omnivore gastro. They shouldn't just be eating bamboo. They should be eating animals and leaves of plants, not the fucking bamboo tree. But they're retarded.
But yet they survive.
Mainly because we keep on trying to make them survive.
Well, that's human beings' fault, not theirs.
No, we should just let them die.
Well,
Some
you know,
animals
human
are not
beings.
meant to survive.
But would we be human beings if we left it up to nature? Isn't our purpose to fight against it?
To a certain degree, but they're also fucking retarded. Just let them die.
I will agree that no, I mean I don't want them to die. I mean, like anything else, the world would be poorer for any kind of experience lost, any kind of critter lost. But on an evolution standpoint, some things are the dodos, but human beings are better and they're here. We can preserve.
No, see, the dodos had a higher chance of surviving than pandas. The only
And
reason
yet,
why...
pandas are here and dodos aren't.
Because dodos were fucking delicious.
How do you know? How do you know?
Because the records that state that we hunted dodos to extinction also...
We also hunted buffalo and bison.
And
Still
they
around.
were fucking delicious.
They are, but they're not extinct.
Yeah, because the last 4 of them weren't clubbed to death by a shipwrecked sailor that got bored and hungry.
Or fighting over a watermelon.
I still fucking love the fact that that is the actual last recorded sighting of dodos. It was a shipwrecked sailor that was on an island, got really hungry. He saw these 4 fucking birds walk out and just look at him. So he picked up an oar, beat one of them to death, started cooking it. The other 3 were still just watching him. They didn't run away when he beat the first one to death. They just continued watching him.
You're joking.
No. They continued watching him. He found it so fucked up that they didn't run away. He beat the other 3 to death with an oar.
My heart hurts.
That is the last recorded sighting of dodos.
My heart hurts.
A shipwrecked sailor beating dodos to death with an oar. And 3 of them just because he went, it's fucked up. They didn't even run away. I'm going to kill them now.
I mean, no, that's actually a little bit more humane. Like, he didn't let them wander off to, like, what if that was the last female, the first one he whooped?
Yep.
They could have been in horrific shock and letting them wander the world. He ended their suffering. But, like, oh my God, it's too late. I'm too tired. I can't contemplate all this sadness. Oh my God. That's so bad. Oh. Yep. I feel so bad.
The last 4 dodos beaten to death with an oar by a shipwrecked sailor. It's one of those things that when you first hear about it, you're going, there's no way. And then you look into it and you go, holy shit. How is this actually a thing? But it is. What the fuck?
I'm sad beyond measure and my day is ruined.
Well, that sounds like a perfect ending for the show because I just realized we've been going for almost 2.5 hours.
Ending it off on a low note.
I don't know. I find it amusing that the last 4 were beaten to death by an oar.
I mean, it's an interesting factoid, but I am sad that it's a fact.
It's just one of those, what the fuck? That's a weird footnote in history. But yes, shall we go for parting words? And since you're still conscious, I'll go for you first.
Since we are adjourning for the evening, thank you everybody for dropping by and for being entertained by our chat. As always, I'm GabbyGeeWhiz, and hopefully I will see you next time. Oh, did someone unmute Adam? I saw that.
Yep, Adam unmuted himself. He's here for parting words.
Just in time.
Yeah, I was still trying to figure out how the whole. Ooh, damn, he was hiding in plain sight the whole time, as they do, I guess.
Mhm.
Shit. But wait, what were you doing?
So, parting words.
Oh, parting words. Well, I guess I'll go with the old favorite of mine. You know what? Thanks for inviting me on. Or thanks for at least having me.
Always
Do
good having you.
appreciate it. It's fun. It's always fun having a good chat with you, Gabby. There.
Mhm.
Ditto.
And you know, I love you all, and God bless, and that's my out.
Copy that. And yes, Assassin, I see that you claim the French are useless. I will agree with you, but I will posit that sunfish, pandas are more useless than even the French, because at least the French have made some fantastic food. And the French are more just
What
a
if you
product.
are fantastic food?
I probably would be delicious. But yeah, the French at least make
If
fantastic
that's a
food.
double entendre, I'm not going to eat you, bro.
The French are more a result of cultural influences making them fucking useless than actually being fucking useless. Because World War One French, they were fucking ballsy as shit. And then
Excellent save, sir.
they castrated themselves.
I mean, I wouldn't even go that far. I would have said, Charles the Mange, but yeah.
Yeah, when you look at old school French, when you look at Charles Martel, when you look at Charlemagne, when you look at Roland and these amazing French historical figures, the French for a while were kind of badass.
The kind of, I mean, I guess we can go into the origins of the Vandals, but or the Visigoths. Wasn't it pretty much the French that overtook Rome?
There were
As
Frankish
part of it.
tribes, effectively.
Yeah.
And then you had the Frankish Norman mix when you had the Normans. Or, sorry, Norse mix when you had the Normans. And they were fucking awesome. I mean, last successful invasion of England.
Well, not
So,
only that, but they were also used as mercenaries for a large chunk of the
oh yeah.
European area. So
Yeah, because they were badass. Before, when you had the Frankish tribes and you had the Frankish aligned groups, they were awesome. Then you had you had the French medieval history, and some of it was very, very French. Some of it was very fucking awesome. Then you had jumping ahead, you had Napoleonic Wars, which they fought well under a Corsican midget. Then you had
hey, hold on. And not only that, but they were also marching under songs singing about onions. So let's not get.
And then you had the World War One, and they kicked ass and took names in World War One. Then after World War One, they had this massive move of now everyone's soldiers were equally brave and equally impressive, and the Germans weren't at all inferior to us internally, while they were also externally going fuck Germany, which yeah, brilliant. Let's neuter our own population while pissing off the people that we just fought a war against. That surely won't have any negative consequences. Great job, France. But yeah, it was more the government and the military that really fucked up when it came to that. The people were just fucked over.
I mean, a number of things comes to mind. Like reliance on the was it the Maginot line,
Yep,
Marginal line, something like that.
the
Uh,
Maginot Line. Yep.
yeah. Reliance on things like. I mean, there's a number of things that you can pin on the French, but I really don't like personally. I don't like uh constantly saying like, oh, they just want to retreat and they just want to surrender. It's like, well, they had their low points.
Well, I
But
will say
France,
that the French government and the French military higher ups, they just wanted to retreat. They just wanted to surrender. When you look at the actual Frenchmen and the French population, they had far more gumption than their government.
yeah, and you can see that especially around the post 1900s. You can see that a lot in a lot of Western countries. Winston Churchill comes to mind in terms
Yep.
of leadership that doesn't reflect the population. But again, I think we
Well, I
were
think you
on
mean
closing arguments.
before Winston, because Winston did come to power with the we're going to stick to our fucking guns. We aren't just going to capitulate. I think you were thinking more of the previous
what
English
was his
leadership.
name? The dude who
There
was like,
was
oh yeah, go ahead,
when you
go ahead, Hitler, take a look at Poland and all that. We'll just hang out. What was his name?
when you're talking about
Chamberlain. Was it Chamberlain?
yes, Chamberlain, and also another leader at the time that was infamous for that and remains being infamous for that was Quisling.
Ooh, Quisling.
Yes.
That's the word. But I think we've overstayed our historical welcome.
Yep. So
all I remember is English. Those they have cookies that come in a tin or something like that, and it's they're not really tasty, but they're always there. At least the tin's there.
You mean the tin that every grandma uses as her sewing kit?
I don't know if they're English, but I've attributed to them. So yeah.
And yes, Quisling was Norwegian, right? So I'll leave off with my standard of if you're passionate about something, make sure that you devour it. Don't let it devour you. And with that, have a good night, all. The zoo is closed.
Night.
Good night.
Good night. And now to click this and